My family hijacked my vacation plans for my golden brother and his children. But this time, I had a secret escape plan of my own. I'm dealing with a family situation that has been building for decades, and it's a complex one. Despite growing up in what appeared to be a typical suburban Oregon household, I, 33 female, have always struggled with my place in the family dynamic. My older brother Alex, 40, male, has always been the golden child. For as long as I can remember, our home has been a monument to Alex's existence, with every wall showcasing his achievements and every conversation eventually circling back to him. I vividly recall my parents being too preoccupied with Alex's scholarship applications to purchase a cake for my 12th birthday. They even attempted to repurpose Alex's leftover graduation cake, which still had his name written in frosting, as my birthday celebration. As I grew older, Alex's accomplishments continued to eclipse every significant moment in my life. My parents were unaware I had made the swim team in middle school because Alex had recently joined the robotics club. They couldn't attend the ceremony when I won a regional writing competition in high school because Alex had a college campus tour scheduled. I learned to celebrate my achievements alone in my bedroom, knowing that sharing them would only result in a passing "That's nice, Megan," before the topic swiftly returned to Alex. Even our possessions reflected our family's priorities. Alex's room was consistently equipped with the latest gadgets, stylish clothing, and everything necessary for his numerous extracurricular activities. Meanwhile, my room was filled with hand-me-downs. When I expressed interest in taking dance lessons, I had to make do with Alex's outgrown ballet slippers, old clothes, and educational materials. We've already spent so much on Alex's soccer training this year. My father responded to my request for properly fitting dance shoes throughout high school. The pattern continued. Alex received private tutoring for his SATs, so I had to prepare with secondhand study guides. My parents secured a loan to help them purchase a car for college. They suggested I use public transportation if I needed to get around. Every financial decision, family discussion, and holiday plan revolved around Alex's wants and needs. College proved especially challenging. Alex graduated from a prestigious private university with our parents' complete financial backing. When it came time for me to attend a state school, they could only commit to covering half the tuition. "We're still paying off Alex's student loans," they explained. "You'll need to figure out the rest yourself." I worked 2 part-time jobs while studying, often falling asleep over my textbooks. Meanwhile, Alex was launching his career in a position our parents had helped secure through their connections. 5 years ago, Alex got married, and everything shifted, or rather, intensified. For an entire year, our family focused exclusively on the wedding. My parents took out another loan to finance their dream wedding, featuring a designer suit, an exclusive venue, and over 250 guests. I overheard them in the kitchen one evening, insisting that nothing was too extravagant for Alex's special day, despite their concerns about the payments. Was there any question that I would be part of the wedding party? I was expected to organize engagement parties, plan an elaborate bachelor weekend, and handle any minor issues that arose. When I expressed stress about managing these commitments while working full-time, my father urged me, "Don't be selfish, Megan. This is your brother's time to shine." Then came the triplets. My parents were ecstatic when Alex announced his wife was expecting triplets. Though still repaying their wedding loan, they contributed to the down payment on a house nearby. I watched them tap into their retirement funds on the day they signed those contracts. The same funds they claimed were inaccessible when I needed help with college. "This is different," they insisted. "This is for our grandchildren." And who became the default babysitter? Yes, me. It started as occasional childcare. The request, "Megan, could you watch the kids for a few hours?" became a weekly occurrence, then expanded to include evenings when they had appointments. My parents endorsed this arrangement, saying, "This is what family does." Alex and his wife Claire, 38 female, assumed I would always be available if I tried to object. While I adore them, the triplets, now energetic 6-year-olds, are exhausting. Every weekend, Alex drops them off unexpectedly at my apartment, usually claiming he and Claire need personal time or have important errands. The children run wild, transforming my modest apartment into chaos. When I attempt to establish boundaries or request advance notice, Claire becomes tearful about how overwhelmed she is, and my parents criticize me for not being supportive. I've worked substantial overtime to establish myself in the public relations field. Recently, I received a promotion offer involving increased hours and travel. When I mentioned this during a family dinner, hoping to receive some congratulations, my father immediately asked, "But what about the triplets? Your brother needs you here." Alex added, "You can't accept that job, Megan. Who will help us with the kids?" Apparently, my time, career, and life are completely inconsequential. Family should come first, Megan, my mother regularly reminds me. Your brother has 3 children to care for. You don't understand what tired really means. When I tried explaining how overwhelming it all feels, Claire accused me of being jealous of their family life. "You're just bitter because you haven't settled down yet," she remarked, as if my relationship status were the primary factor determining my worth. After a particularly chaotic weekend with the triplets last month, they successfully ruined my tablet and left permanent stains on my carpet. I decided to finally treat myself to a mountain retreat. I knew I needed an escape. I found a charming, low-key resort in Colorado that seemed perfect for a peaceful getaway. My father's eyes lit up when I mentioned it at our weekly family dinner. "Oh, that's ideal. We should all go together. The triplets would love the mountains." Before I could protest, Claire had already begun planning activities. "You can take the kids hiking while Alex and I enjoy some spa time," she said, as if my trip would automatically transform into childcare duty for them. Of course, in exchange for my help with the triplets, my parents offered to upgrade my reservation to a more luxurious resort where they could all stay. Completely disregarding the fact that this was supposed to be my vacation, they started planning excursions and activities based on what the triplets would enjoy. That night, lying in bed, I made a decision that would change everything. I booked a separate resort on a secluded mountain lake and kept my change of plans secret from everyone. I quietly began preparations by arranging time off work, packing my belongings, and ensuring my emergency fund was accessible. Though I knew it was deceptive, I couldn't take it anymore. They'll be separated from me at the airport. While I board my flight to a different destination, they'll be flying to Colorado. I've disabled location sharing and am prepared for the inevitable backlash. Yes, I know there will be drama. Yes, I understand they'll be upset. But for once in my life, I want to prioritize myself. For 33 years, I've been the reliable sister, the perfect daughter, and the ever-available aunt. I've sacrificed my social life, weekends, and personal needs to meet my family's expectations. I've missed dating opportunities because I was constantly babysitting. I've declined opportunities that might conflict with family demands. I've put my personal life on hold to be available whenever they need me. I'm not just escaping a vacation. I'm fleeing a lifetime of exploitation. I intend to use this as a turning point to establish clear boundaries with my family and possibly even take a complete break from them. I'm tired of always making sacrifices, being the family's support pillar, and serving as the dependable backup plan. Reddit, what should I do? Am I overreacting? Is it acceptable for me to want something more for myself, or should I simply follow their lead and accept my role in the family? Update 1. Thank you sincerely for all your support and advice. Much has transpired since my last post, and I'd like to share how everything unfolded. Although everything proceeded according to plan, the airport day was more emotionally charged than anticipated. I arrived early, deliberately choosing a check-in counter far from my family's designated airline. Through the terminal's glass dividers, I observed everyone arrive. Alex checking their reservation details, my parents looking excited, Claire managing the triplets, and dragging luggage. As they began approaching their check-in counter, I quietly passed through security for my own flight. My phone started buzzing almost immediately when they discovered I wasn't at their gate. The confused text came first. "Where are you?" "We're at gate C14. Then the concerned ones. "Megan, are you okay? Has something happened?" Finally, the indignant ones. "How could you do this to us? The kids are crying." I turned off my phone before boarding my flight. For the first time in years, I experienced an unusual mixture of liberation and guilt. That guilt had been my companion for most of my life. But the freedom? It was exhilarating and unfamiliar. The remote mountain lodge where I stayed was nothing like the bustling resort destination they were headed to. Years of tension melted away the moment I stepped onto the lakeside path. No triplets to supervise, no family drama to navigate, no schedule to maintain. Just the mountains, the pristine lake, and complete freedom. The first 2 days were actually difficult. I kept checking the time, thinking, The triplets would be having lunch now, or Claire would typically need help getting them to bed at this hour. Decades of conditioning aren't easily overcome. But something shifted on the third day. I tried activities I'd always wanted to experience, but never had time for. I thoroughly enjoyed a ridiculous, yet entertaining kayaking lesson. I joined a hiking group of other solo travelers when I signed up for a guided forest walk. I even accepted an impromptu dinner invitation from a charming woman I met in the lodge's library one evening. Though it was just a casual meal, it reminded me that I could have a life independent of my family. The real test came when I finally turned on my phone after 5 days. There were dozens of voicemails, over 250 text messages, and 132 missed calls. My mother had even contacted my workplace to report a family emergency. Fortunately, I had previously informed my supervisor that I would be taking personal leave. I listened to some of the voicemails. My mother's tone evolved from concerned to angry to manipulative. "Megan, how could you abandon your family like this? The triplets are devastated. Is this how we raised you?" Claire's messages were even worse. "You've ruined everything. The kids keep asking for Aunt Megan. Alex had to cancel meetings because I can't handle them alone." However, one message struck a different chord. My father sent it, sounding uncertain for once. "Megan, please let us know you're safe. I don't understand what's happening, but..." I'd never heard him speak to me without immediately defending Alex or urging me to do more. I sent just one message to our family group chat. "I'm enjoying a wonderful trip, and I'm safe. I'll contact you when I return. Please respect my space." Then I muted the conversation and continued my vacation. Instead of reading bedtime stories to the triplets, I read 4 novels, conversed with fellow guests without interruption, and watched the sunrise each morning rather than rushing to help with breakfast and school preparations. These 5 days transformed my life. I began journaling to process years of suppressed emotions. Last night, I had dinner at a small lakeside restaurant, and when the older waiter noticed I was alone, he asked if I was comfortable with my solitude. After I briefly explained my situation, he said something that resonated deeply. "Family matters, sweetheart, but not at the expense of your own well-being. Sometimes putting yourself first is the bravest thing you can do." Upon returning home, I didn't immediately go to my apartment. Instead, I booked a hotel room for 2 nights to prepare myself for the inevitable confrontation. During this time, I updated my workplace emergency contacts, changed the locks on my doors, and most importantly, wrote down my boundaries. My family discovered I was back when I accidentally liked a colleague's social media post. Within hours, my mother and Alex were at my apartment building, repeatedly buzzing my intercom. From my hotel room window across the street, I watched their dramatic performance with strange detachment. I'm meeting them tomorrow at a neutral coffee shop, not at my home. I know it won't be easy, but I've prepared what I need to say. My hands shake just thinking about it. But for the first time in my life, I'm choosing myself, and despite the anxiety, guilt, and drama that will inevitably follow, I know I'm doing the right thing. I'll provide another update after speaking with my family. Thank you, Reddit, for giving me the courage to take this first step toward independence. Update 2. The meeting with my family happened as planned, and the situation became even more intense than I had anticipated. The coffee shop encounter began innocuously enough. I arrived early and secured a corner table where I could see both the main entrance and the emergency exit, a habit developed over years of anticipating family drama. My hands trembled so severely that I could barely hold my coffee cup. My parents, Alex, and, surprisingly, Claire all arrived together, and I was relieved the triplets weren't with them. Before they could launch into their prepared speeches, I raised my hand and said what I had rehearsed. I'm establishing boundaries, and they're non-negotiable. The next 2 hours were a masterclass in emotional manipulation. Claire wept openly while detailing how my absence had traumatized the triplets. My mother attempted to instill guilt with "after everything we've done for you." Unexpectedly, Alex tried mediating by proposing a compromise where I would only watch the children every other weekend. My father mostly sat quietly, looking uncomfortable. The defining moment came when Claire declared, "You're being selfish. Family means sacrifice." Something broke inside me, and I responded clearly but calmly. "Yes, family does require sacrifice, but it should be reciprocal. When was the last time any of you sacrificed for me?" The silence that followed was profound. For the first time, I revealed everything. The years of being Alex's afterthought, the inequitable financial treatment, the persistent belief that my life and time were less valuable than theirs. I then showed them my calendar from the previous year, with every weekend reserved for babysitting and every holiday tailored to their needs. When my mother tried to interrupt with, "But that's what aunts do," I said something I had never dared utter before. "No, that's what paid childcare providers do. And Alex, if you need this much help, perhaps it's time to hire one." Claire rushed out with my mother following her. Alex lingered, apologizing half-heartedly for taking advantage of my availability. After a long pause, my father said, "We never meant to make you feel this way." It wasn't an apology, but it was something. After they left, I implemented my plan. I relocated to a different neighborhood and secured a new apartment, smaller than my previous one, but in a secure building with a doorman aware of my situation. My new phone number is now known only to my workplace and a few close friends. The most challenging aspect wasn't the moving or planning. It was rebuilding my life from scratch. Having spent years catering to my family, I had few meaningful hobbies and limited close friendships. I quietly began enrolling in photography classes, joining a local book club, and accepting lunch invitations from colleagues I had previously declined. My first weekend of genuine freedom felt strange. I did things I had never done before, sleeping late, visiting a local art fair, spending hours browsing in a record store. No urgent texts from Alex. No guilt-inducing calls from Mom. No last-minute childcare requests. My family's reaction to my relocation was severe but expected. When my mother attempted to contact me through my company switchboard, she discovered my new position doesn't allow personal calls during business hours. Alex even appeared at my office once, but security had been forewarned. Claire wrote a tearful email accusing me of destroying their family. Alex initially resisted taking the triplets to weekend activities himself, but has since adapted to this small but significant change. He apologized via email for his role in enabling the situation. My parents are struggling to adjust. Dad occasionally sends texts, typically awkward attempts at casual conversation. Mom alternates between angry outbursts and cold silence. She left a voicemail last week saying, "When you're done with this rebellion, we'll welcome you back." She doesn't understand. This isn't a phase. This is my new reality. At work, my supervisor assigned me to lead a major new project after noticing improvements in my productivity and focus due to fewer family disruptions. I'm casually dating for the first time in years, though taking things slowly. The biggest shift has been internal. The constant background anxiety I carried for years has diminished, and I've been exercising more regularly, improving my nutrition, and sleeping better. According to my therapist, yes, I've finally started therapy and beginning to recover from what she calls chronic familial stress syndrome. Last weekend, the triplets sent me a package containing handmade cards expressing how much they miss me. Though bittersweet, I remained resolute. I carefully wrote back to let them know that while I love them, I need time to care for myself. I wrote it knowing Alex might not read it to them. "You look lighter now. Years younger," remarked an old acquaintance when I saw her yesterday. She's right. Despite angry texts, attempts at emotional manipulation, and residual guilt, I feel lighter and more liberated. True love includes respect for personal space, acknowledgement of individual needs, and mutual support rather than one-sided sacrifice. I'm discovering that family love shouldn't feel like a prison sentence. Next week marks 1 month in my new apartment, and I'm hosting my first small housewarming gathering with a few friends from photography class, book club, and work. No expectations, drama, or family, just people who accept me for who I am. I'll share another update soon, and thank you, Reddit, for giving me the courage to make a life-changing decision. Update 3, final update. It's been a transformative 3 months, and I'd like to share how everything has concluded. The confrontation I had been both dreading and anticipating arrived last week when my father unexpectedly appeared at my workplace. His approach differed from Claire's emotional manipulations or my mother's previous frantic attempts. He was calm, almost resigned, when he asked if we could have lunch together. We met at a quiet restaurant near my office. For the first time in my life, he saw me as his daughter, not Alex's sister or the family's backup plan. "You look healthy," he remarked, sounding surprised. Happier. The observation that he hadn't noticed my unhappiness for years hung heavily between us. He had come with a proposal from the family. They were willing to compromise. If I agreed to resume my role in the family, I could have every other weekend off. He added, they'd even compensate you for your time with the triplets, as if monetizing the obligation would make it more appealing. Looking across the table at him, I realized they still didn't understand. They viewed my freedom as a negotiation point rather than a fundamental right. Dad, I replied, I'm not bargaining for my independence. I'm living it. The conversation that followed was the most honest I've ever had with my father. I detailed how their relentless focus on Alex had harmed me emotionally and practically. I told him about things he had forgotten or never noticed, dreams, achievements, and birthdays. His response was unprecedented. He sat in silence for a long time, not offering the usual defense of their decisions. Finally, he said, we thought we were doing what was best for our family. We never realized how much we were hurting you. Though not an apology, it was the first acknowledgement I'd received. The real turning point came when he asked about my new life. For the first time, he listened as I described my photography classes, my career advancement, and the new friends I'd made. I showed him photos of a landscape I had captured, imperfect though it was. His next words stunned me. You've built a good life for yourself without us. The realization and pain in his voice seemed genuine. At the end of lunch, we agreed that nothing would ever be the same again. As he left, he gave me my first genuine hug in years. I hope someday we can be part of your life again, but on different terms. That exchange triggered a final round of family turmoil. Alex has been making passive-aggressive comments on social media about selfish sisters and fractured families, feeling betrayed by our father's acceptance of my decisions. After learning about our lunch, my mother launched a new wave of emotional attacks, telling relatives I need an intervention because I'm having a breakdown. I see their actions as attempts to maintain control over someone who has finally claimed their freedom. The difference is that none of it affects me the way it once did. My new life has given me perspective. My new apartment now feels like home, with my photography attempts and pictures of my chosen family, friends who value my independence and respect boundaries, adorning the walls. At work, I've begun mentoring junior team members, breaking the cycle of toxic support that had long ensnared me. The most significant change has been in my relationship with time. My weekends are now my own. I've started learning Italian, joined a local rock climbing group, and begun dating someone who respects and values my boundaries. For the first time, I'm living a life that reflects who I am rather than what my family expects of me. Last Sunday, the triplets sent me a handwritten card clearly created under supervision. It was filled with emotional statements about how much they missed their aunt. Previously, this would have sent me spiraling into doubt and guilt. Instead, I responded with a loving but firm letter explaining that while I may not be as present in their daily lives, my love for them hasn't changed, and sometimes adults need to care for themselves. My therapist says I'm experiencing post-traumatic growth, rather than merely moving beyond the past. I'm building something stronger and healthier in its place. She's helped me understand that I'm not responsible for my family's dysfunction. The most recent development occurred yesterday when Alex's wife Claire called to inform me, not to blame me, that my stance has resulted in changes in their household. They've finally hired part-time help with the triplets, and Alex has become a more involved parent. Claire believes it's better for everyone, though Alex is struggling to adjust. As I write this final update, I'm sitting in my home office preparing for a business trip next week, something I could never have done in my previous life. Above my desk hangs a framed quote that captures my journey. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is set yourself free. I want to thank everyone who supported me and followed my story. You gave me the courage to make my own choices. If you're wondering whether people in similar situations are selfish for wanting their own lives, remember that you aren't. Being free isn't selfish. Caring for yourself isn't cruel. And establishing boundaries isn't betrayal. I don't know how my relationship with my family will evolve in the future. Perhaps someday we'll discover a different kind of connection, one based on mutual respect rather than obligation. In the meantime, I'm focused on nurturing the life I've created, my friendships, hobbies, career, and most importantly, my sense of self. This isn't the end. It's only the beginning. For the first time in my life, I'm excited to see what happens next.